With legendary Warriors man Steph Curry edging further towards his mid-30s, some people have started to look to the future. Of course, Curry proved last season that he is still one of the biggest threats in the league, but that hasn't stopped some people from claiming his championship days are over. Stay with us, as today we are discussing claims that Steph will never again win an NBA championship, plus what the Warriors look like without him. First up, news of potential Warriors trades. Stay tuned. The Warriors haven't enjoyed the greatest season in their recent history this time out, despite winning their fourth title in 8 seasons last year. With a record of 15-18 so far this term, some people have suggested that they could be set to mix things up where trades are concerned, in a bid to freshen up the roster. According to a recent report, the Warriors could be looking at the possibility of making both James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga available for trade, with one unnamed league executive revealing that the Golden State Warriors will freshen things up before the trade deadline. Steve Bulpett of Heavy.com revealed that the executive said, "I have a feeling the Warriors are going to make either James Wiseman or Jonathan Kuminga available. They just need another solid veteran." Of course, the Warriors are yet to make a move for said veteran, but some have suggested that the Phoenix Suns' Jay Crowder could be on their radar. Angela Martin of NBC Sports wrote, "The Warriors have been reported to be in the mix for dormant Phoenix Suns forward Jay Crowder, along with plenty of other teams, and whispers of a potential Kevin Durant reunion have hounded Golden State since the summer. However, the likelihood of the Warriors trading either man wouldn't make much sense right now, as both have serious potential. What do you guys think the Warriors need trade-wise? Coach Kerr has recently had his say on the Warriors' recent struggles. Stay tuned. The Warriors fell to their second straight loss yesterday, December 21st, as the Brooklyn Nets handed them a humiliating 143-113 loss. The loss came a day after they were hammered 132-94 by the Knicks to take them to 15-18 for the season. The Warriors have been nothing short of dreadful on the road this season and are the unwanted owners of a league-worst 3-16 record away from Chase Center. Of course, they were without star man Steph Curry, but Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins were also out, meaning the Warriors were quite some way off full strength. The first quarter was, simply put, shocking, and they headed into Q2 46-17 down. And although they made slight improvements in the second, they still went in at halftime, having given up almost twice the amount of points they had scored, 91-51. Brooklyn were simply scoring at will, and they can count themselves lucky that they managed to make the score somewhat respectable following their horror show in the first half. After the humiliating defeat, Coach Steve Kerr was making no excuses and revealed that you are what your record says you are. But that will be of little consolation to Warriors fans. What have you made of their performances recently? Next up, Kerr has named his all-time starting five. Steve Kerr recently took time out from trying to mastermind a way to salvage a Warriors season that appears to be heading straight down the toilet by appearing on an episode of Dubs Talk with NBC Sports Bay Area's Dalton Jackson. Of course, Kerr shared the court with some true icons of the game during his playing career, and he was asked who would make his all-time five consisting of players he played with. Reeling off a who's who of basketball greats, Kerr said, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tim Duncan, Shaq. I played with him in Orlando for several months, and Mark Price, before comparing Price to his own Steph Curry, explaining that you had to pick him up well beyond the three-point line. Kerr's choices will be of little surprise to most around the game, considering the achievements of that particular bunch. We bet he wishes he had those guys at his disposal for his struggling Warriors team right now. Give us your all-time five below. So what's this about Curry having already won his last title? Fox News Radio's Jason Smith recently came through with a pretty bold claim about the Warriors' legendary point guard and the organization themselves, with Curry recently claiming that the Warriors are back. Smith seems to think that that claim is basically hot air. He is of the opinion that it is more a case of Golden State squeaking out one more than the dynasty is back. Pretty big words. Smith then revealed that it is great that the Warriors have all these young players, but he did point out that a lot of teams have young players with whom they can look to the future. Of course, the Warriors' big players in Steph, Draymond, and Klay are all getting on a bit, which Smith was quick to point out, saying that 3 years ago they didn't have enough to win the NBA Finals, and now 2 more years have gone by. The Fox News Radio man then pointed out that Andrew Wiggins hasn't been doing enough, and neither has Jordan Poole, saying, "These guys were good, they were very good, and I give them all the credit in the world because they were able to bring in the right support to win. But the NBA has not grown, and the NBA has not gotten better." While Smith's views might be considered harsh, there could be an element of truth. I mean, time waits for no man, after all, right? What else did he have to say? Well, Smith clearly believes the Warriors have had their moment in the sun. I mean, it has been a pretty long moment to be fair, and he believes that we are now at a point in the league where the older stars are fading away. Of course, this is not a new phenomenon, as no man can outrun Father Time, but he did have an odd take when he claimed that winning is not as important as it once was to LeBron, AD, KD, Kyrie, and Harden, before adding, the Warriors squeaked one in before the new players start to take over. As we know, there are plenty of quality players coming through right now, whom Smith went on to mention by suggesting Ja and Luka are going to take over, before pointing out that the Milwaukee Bucks have already been guided to an NBA championship by the excellent Giannis. He went on to warn the league, and probably the Warriors by proxy, that the new stars are coming. Smith also said that the older guys who have already won titles don't necessarily care as much any longer, suggesting that last season's win was simply down to it being one of those in-between years, where the up-and-coming players around the league hadn't quite fulfilled their potential yet. He went on to reiterate his idea that starting next year, you're going to see the young players of the next generation really start to take over. Do you guys agree? So what might the Warriors look like without Steph? Of course, NBA players can't last forever unless you happen to be the evergreen LeBron James, but even he will have to call it a day sooner or later. At the moment, Steph Curry looks as good as he ever has, but we are sure to see a decline in the next couple of seasons. The Warriors will need to plan for this eventuality at some point in the near future, if they haven't already begun to do so. Curry's currently sidelined through injury, so the question that will be posed to them in a few years' time is actually one that is being asked right now. Will they manage to make the playoffs without their star man over the next month or so? Thankfully, they have a few other standout players on the team, but do they have what it takes to fill in for the great man whilst he is out? One man who could be asked to fill in again is Jordan Poole, who covered for Steph when he was injured at the end of last season. During the last 12 games before the playoffs, Poole averaged 26.0 points per game and 5.9 assists. If you were to look at Poole's performance this season when using per-minute averages, they would stack up similarly to the numbers he was putting up during that period at the back end of last season. Who else could fill in for Curry? Well, of course, we still have Klay Thompson kicking about, who is back up and running once more after being out for a large part of last season. During Steph's absence last year, Thompson was still working his way back to full fitness. But now that he has a few games under his belt, he could easily do a job in place of the great man. The Warriors also have Andrew Wiggins, who could well be asked to give more in Curry's absence. Wiggins has come in for a bit of criticism for his perceived low numbers of late, but we know he has the talent to be a real threat in place of Steph. Of course, Wiggins himself has struggled with injury of late, but he has still scored double figures in each game he has played in this season, which is a solid return. With Steph out, Wiggins will see more game time, and he has become more consistent as the season has worn on. With Draymond as the de facto point guard, he will be expected to increase his assist at the very least. He can't really be relied on to put up the really big points these days, but one man who could possibly benefit most from Curry's absence is guard Dante DiVincenzo, who is best placed to earn sixth-man minutes as he has played that role on numerous occasions in the past. Who do you guys think is best placed to fill Curry's sizable shoes? As always, thanks for tuning in today, and remember to swing by again next time for some more fun and games. And why not do us a big favor by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on more great content in the future. Bye guys!